Greetings everyone, and welcome back to Joe's Metal Mancave. Today I want to talk about some albums that, at least to me, are very underrated in the black metal scene. What is and what isn't underrated is obviously subjective and going to change person to person, but these are just albums that, over the years of owning them, I just have not seen a lot of people talk about them, and I feel like they need to be highlighted and just get a little more attention. So this will be an ongoing series here on Joe's Metal Mancave, so if you like what you see here, remember to subscribe and look forward to more videos in the same style. Alright, to kick things off, I wanted to talk about a project who are known as Finn. Finn was a black metal band from Chicago, Illinois, and it was originally made up of just two members. And on their debut album, Faded by Will and Iron, they created black metal that is, at least in my ears, very much in a style comparable to Night End Division 187. Although I think the major differences would be that it's a bit more melodic and the drum work is far more technical and complex sounding, which honestly isn't a bad thing. I mean, I love Night End Division 187 for what they were, but to hear a little bit more elaborate version of that project is actually really fucking cool. And these guys follow that sort of feel and that theme of that warlike theme very closely, but they, it's again more melodic and just but still has a cold, dark war kind of feel to it. And it's really great stuff. That as far as it's really kind of been underrated in the grand scheme of things. I would say all three of the band's albums are very good, but they never came close to topping this demo, which, to the best of my knowledge, was originally released as just a simple DIY CDR and just given out at shows and given to close friends, stuff like that. But when it was re-released by Disorder Records, I can only hope it got them a little more attention, because this is really good stuff. The lyrics are entirely centered around war and like the horrors and the aftermath of war, but don't be mistaken here, this isn't some sort of NSBM. These guys are not praising Hitler or World War II. In fact, one of the members of the band was half black, so that should tell you that this is not an NSBM right here. But yeah, it's wrote in a very sort of narrative way, sort of recalling the horrors of war this person went through. Very cool, very different, and of course it's always a bit refreshing when a black metal band steps out of that typical anti-Christian and Satan and occult themes. I mean, it's typical of black metal, and I don't mind it one all, but when you get something a little different, it's definitely cool. And the lyrics are very well written. They're all in this booklet. It's very cool. And I actually find some of them actually kind of catchy too, in a weird sort of way. It's really cool stuff. But yeah, if you're definitely ever desired to hear a more melodic, more technical sounding, I guess, Night End Division 187, this is definitely a band to check out. It has all that rawness and coldness that you'd expect out of that band, but just a little more elaborate, which is cool because not a whole lot of bands have tackled that sound. I think these guys did it brilliantly. Alright, so on the front cover we have what, again, could be mistaken as some sort of Nazi sympathizing, but that is certainly not the case here. And there's the two members, Der Pestards and MK. Tray card, here in the booklets. Cover once again. We just have lyrics in the booklets. The back cover, recording information and such. Yeah, super cool stuff. Finn originally started out as a two-piece band, but eventually on their second album they expanded to a four-piece band with a full-time vocalist and a bass player, and that lasted for one album. Then they went back to being a two-piece band, and this album is also very, very good. All their albums are really good, and the third album, which I unfortunately do not own, is also very good. But yeah, great stuff. I think on the other albums they kind of moved away from that war theme a little bit, but it's still just like really cool. It's really cool to hear a band capture that, just that cold, militaristic sound that Night End Division just perfected back in the late 90s. So if you're into that kind of thing, like I said, want to hear something a little more melodic, definitely check out Finn. We're continuing on, and we're going to talk about an album that is definitely in need of a reissue. This is a tremendous split album that just, goddamn, man, this is really fucking good. So the album we're going to talk about is the Det Hedenske Folk and Abyssic Hate split album, which is known as United by Heathen Blood. I've known about this album for many, many years, and I always was really curious about it because Abath from Immortal plays drums on the Det Hedenske Folk material. And that always made me very curious because I'm a huge fan of the early Immortal stuff, specifically the first three albums. The fourth album's okay, and then it's pretty downhill with Immortal from there. But, yeah, I had always heard this stuff sounded a lot like pure Holocaust from Immortal, and sure enough, it sounds remarkably similar to pure Holocaust from Immortal. I mean, the production, I mean, the album was, or should I say this, was, it was released as a demo in 1995. It was recorded in 95 at Grieg Hall with Pittman recording it, and it sounds remarkably similar to pure Holocaust, almost to the point where you'd almost wonder if it was like some sort of leftovers from the recording sessions. It's very spot on, but pure Holocaust has always been my favorite Immortal album. It is just so cold and brutal and just relentless sounding. I mean, Battles in North is great too, but just this is fucking Immortal perfected. They never did. I mean, they made a lot of good albums, but this is Immortal at their peak. I want to be honest with you guys. So to hear another band that sounds remarkably similar to that is very cool. Det Hedenske Folk, as I understand it, was a project from this guy named Thier, and not to be confused with that guy that he later played with Emperor and Borknagar. No, this is a different guy that had originally been the vocalist during one of the many formations of Old Funeral, and perhaps you've seen that ridiculous video on YouTube, the rehearsal video where he's kind of like dancing around and looking really happy. Then you see like Varg in the back, he's playing his bass. Yeah, maybe you've seen that video. If not, well, look it up. It's on YouTube. It's entertaining, I guess, because you get to see some of these Norwegian black metal guys back when they were still playing death metal and all that kind of stuff. But this is that guy. His name is Jim Larson, and this is the only black metal project he did. And on this record, he does all the vocals, guitars, bass, and as I said earlier, at Bath handles the drums. It is total pure Holocaust worship, so much to the point where it sounds like, you know, again, like leftover tracks from pure Holocaust session. But goddamn, it is really fucking good. Just relentless blast beats, really fast riffs, and just screeching raw vocals, just cold as fuck sound. Just awesome stuff, man. If you get your hands on this, definitely do it. It's definitely worth paying extra money for a CD because it is really, really good. The only problem is that Det Hedenske Folk stuff is only about 12 minutes long, but the Abyssic Hate material is fantastic too. So as far as Abyssic Hate's side of the split is concerned, a lot of people know Abyssic Hate through their album Suicidal Emotions, which is, by most people's accounts, a depressive black metal masterpiece, a legendary album. I've never found anything about this album to be particularly depressive. In fact, it just sounds like raw black metal to me. But the split here, you get an earlier Abyssic Hate demo from, I think, 94, 95, which is called Cleansing of an Ancient Race. And it's very, very comparable, again, to a pure Holocaust era Immortal. It's very, very good. The production's slightly different, but just very cold and raw sounding stuff. I mean, it is really, really good, really great riffs, just superb, dark, evil atmosphere. It is intense stuff. I mean, Abyssic Hate didn't release a lot of material during like the 10 or so years that the project was together, but this is by far the best thing the band ever released as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Suicidal Emotions is cool, good album, but this Cleansing of an Ancient Race demo, dude, this is fucking intense, just raw, evil sounding black metal. Great stuff, and again, similar to pure Holocaust and all that other Immortal, early Immortal stuff. This is, I think this album was originally released back in like the late 90s, so it's definitely due for a re-release. It'd be super cool if it's got a vinyl release or something like that, because it definitely deserves it. It's just awesome, awesome stuff. Fantastic split, so well worth checking out. Det Hedenske Folk, which I probably have not been pronouncing right this whole time, and Abyssic Hate, United by Heathen Blood. Fucking great stuff. So on the front cover we have some mountains, very nice landscape shot. On the back cover we have more nature shots. It was released by Bloodless Creations, which was an Australian label. It's a trade card, nothing special there. And the booklets. There's the front cover again. Booklet, we have another landscape shot with all the recording information, track listing. Yeah. Cool stuff. There, doesn't seem to be really a lot of information about what happened to the Hedenske Folk. This was just the one and only demo the band recorded, and then it just sort of disappeared into oblivion. I don't know. What a shame, because this is really good stuff, and the Abyssic Hate stuff is fantastic. Hopefully this gets a re-release soon, because I think this is kind of hard to track down, and probably pretty expensive if you try to find like a Discogs or something like that, but definitely worth it if you can get this for like $30 or under. Do it. It is really, really good stuff. Moving on, I wanted to talk about a project known as Endless Dismal Moan. This is a project that, looking back to when he was releasing albums, really flew under the radar, but now, all these years later, and after the artist committed suicide in 2000, he's become something of a sort of a cult figure in the black metal scene, much the same way Dead and Iranus have become these cult figures, because there's not really a lot of photos, there's not any like live footage, it's kind of how it's gone with black metal over the years, which is understandable. There's a lot of mystery behind these guys, and of course, their dark art is, really special to a lot of people, and me in particular because I got to interview the artist back in 2006, which I posted on this channel earlier this week, so I hope you check that out. If you haven't, go back and check that out. But anyway, Endless Dismal Moan was the solo project of Japanese artist Takuya Susui, if I'm saying it right, otherwise known as Chaos 9. Solo project, which, at least to my ears, is extremely unique, and I've never heard anyone sounds exactly like this, both back then and all these years later. Chaos 9's music is some of the rawest, ugliest black metal with a very, just a very nightmarish vibe. The best way I could describe this album is it's like you have entered into the mind of Chaos 9, and it's like a lunatic mind. Like you're basically living his worst nightmares through his music. It's very fast riffing, just hellish screeching vocals, which may or may not be in English and Japanese. No one really knows. I mean, he might even just be screaming. It's hard to say. And then there's this pummeling fast programmed drums, which give it sort of this underlying sort of industrial quality, almost comparable to the early Mysticum stuff. And there's haunting synths, occasional piano tinkling. It's really cool. It's very unique, and I mean, just kind of describing that, it kind of is probably something you've heard, but like the feeling of this album is nothing like anything else I've personally ever heard. I heard rumors that Chaos 9 had extreme schizophrenia and depression. That's what ultimately led to his suicide in 2008, which, when you listen to this music, you really kind of get a glimpse of the artist's inner soul and just his mind and how it'll work. And I mean, this is just maniacal, crazy, dark, evil sounding black metal. It's anyone's guess what the hell the lyrics were about. They were never published, and as I said earlier, it's not really known if they were, delivered in Japanese or English. The interview I did with him, he said it was in both English and Japanese, but there's not a single word in these records that you can decipher and make sense of. But the important thing here is that the music is just such dark and spine-chilling stuff. I mean, when I first heard this album, it made the hairs on my arm just kind of rise up on end. It is just really creepy, dark sounding stuff. It brought me back to the late 90s when I heard black metal for the first time, like when I heard Emperor's debut album. And that's how clips, like that was the album that like literally scared me when I heard it the first time. And when I heard this album in 2006, it brought me back to that feeling, and that's a wonderful feeling that I get with black metal. You don't feel that a lot after years of listening to black metal. Once in a while, I'll come across the artist where I'm like, "Whoa, this is really just dark, sinister sounding stuff." But like, there hasn't been a lot of artists that have been able to do that. But Endless Dismal Moan was one of those artists, and that's a really special thing, a really unique feeling. During his lifetime, Chaos 9 released 3 albums through the blackmetal.com label, which was a label that was sort of well known for releasing otherwise a lot of really shitty black metal. They were at one point in time a very good distro for black metal. I remember buying stuff from them in the early 2000s, just be like, whoa, just so much awesome stuff here. But when they moved into releasing albums probably around like 2003, they just, I don't know, man. They didn't release a lot of good stuff. And I know that as a fact because they used to send me almost all of their albums from my zine Lyric Notes, and I haven't hanged on to a lot of them. There was just a lot of just very generic raw black metal, or just I don't know. It seemed like the early 2000s weren't really a great time for black metal, and this label just released a lot of stuff. It just wasn't really that good. But they also re-released a lot of old stuff, so there was some cool stuff. And then of course they brought Endless Dismal Moan to the world, which is really cool. So anyways, 3 albums during his lifetime. He took his life in June of 2008, and then about a year after he had passed away, label released 1 more album, and it was sort of at the time thought that it was a compilation of tracks, but apparently this was the album that was intended to be the 4th Endless Dismal Moan album, but obviously it didn't happen because he killed himself. So here's the front cover, and another trait of blackmetal.com is that they didn't particularly have the best album cover artworks, and they seemingly did the artwork for every one of their releases. Usually it just involved photoshopping one of the members of the band over some image or another, and well, you kind of get what I'm talking about there. A lot of the release in EDM and Dismal Moan actually had the artwork from KS9. So there's another picture of the front cover, and then there's a booklet, razor blades, some recording information, and the back cover. Yeah, super cool stuff, which now has become pretty cold and pretty rare and hard to get. There was a point in time where I actually had all 4 of the Endless Dismal Moan albums, but at some point or another I sold 2 of those 4 albums, and god damn it, man, I looked them up on YouTube recently. I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Man, it is really good stuff, so I really regret that. And then I see these fucking people on Discogs trying to sell this shit for like $50 to $100. Like, fuck off to these people too, man. That's bullshit. But hopefully this stuff gets re-released at some point so I can get it back in my collection, because I'm not sure what I was thinking by selling that first album and that third album, which I used to own, and I'd actually gotten for free for promo reviews for my old zine Reminiscers, but yeah, bad, yeah. Anyway, that's Endless Dismal Moan. I wanted to talk about one more album. The album in question here is Battle Dagorath and their album Eternal Throne. In recent years, I think Battle Dagorath has become a bit more unknown in the black metal underground. They're one of those bands that eventually moved in a direction that's, I think, very comparable to stuff like Dark Space or Passage de Hiva. I don't know how to pronounce, but perhaps you know what I'm talking about. By the time they got their second album, they moved very much in that direction. But here in their first album, they presented a very ferocious, raw black metal that's to a point melodic, has very interesting riffs, and just a very aggressive, dark mood to it, with just pummeling fast drums and just unchained, just wicked, evil-sounding vocals. Really great stuff, man. I don't see a lot of people talk about this. That's a bit of a shame. This is just really just relentless, brutal stuff, but not brutal like in like a Marduk or ethereal kind of vein. No, this is it's very wintry and dark, but I think it has a very unique feel to it. I don't think I've really ever heard that sounds exactly like this, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I have heard something like this. If that makes any sense, I don't know. But very cool stuff. I've really always enjoyed this album. I've enjoyed everything Battle Dagorath has released. I mean, come on, I'm wearing a t-shirt of them for this video too. So, you know, it's a band I've tremendously enjoyed over the year. Every one of their albums is really good, but still, something about this first one, I don't know if it's just because it's the first album I heard from the band or what it may be, but really great stuff. I think it's just, the mood on this is just very relentless and very aggressive, and just those vocals are just, oh man. Insane, crazy, just love the vocals on this album. Unfortunately, the vocalist on this album, he left the band after the first album, and the band basically became a 2-piece band after that, and then later on, I think they were more or less just a one-man band. Christoph Ziegler from Winterreich at very regularly performed intros and outros for this band, as well as some other keyboards here and there for the project, but I don't know that he was ever really considered a member then. Maybe I have to look that up. But if you like Winterreich, this is definitely a band for you to look up in case you've never heard them. So, on the front cover, we have a mountain. You know, I mean, it's been seen before and done before, you know, whatever. Cool shot, though. Back cover, we have the track listing, you know, nice moon shots. Nothing special for the tray cards there, so then landscape shots, landscape, yeah, you guessed it, lots of landscape shots for this one. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Very just aggressive, dark, raw black metal, but still sort of like if Marduk or something like that was maybe a little more raw and just had much better vocals. I think this would be a way to compare it, but great album. So, Dagorath, Eternal Throne. Alright guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you have heard these albums, as always, I'd be very curious to hear your opinion. If you haven't heard them and you subsequently check them out after watching this video, you know, again, I'm really be curious to hear what you think. If you never heard of these albums, I hope I got you into something new, but definitely look them out. All four of those are fucking awesome albums. If you can actually get your hands on a physical copy, do so. It's definitely worth owning, but yeah, there's some underrated black metal albums for you to check out, and thank you for checking out this video. I hope you subscribe, and as I said earlier, it's going to be a regular series here on Joe's Metal Man Cave, so yeah, I'll see you next time. My name is Joe, this is Joe's Metal Man Cave.